Autism is a family diagnosis. Yes, it's only Cooper who carries the label, but it's all of us who feel its effect. That is just one powerful line from the book Autism Out Loud. I had a fangirl moment on this episode of the ABA Speech podcast. Today, I had a wonderful conversation with Kate Swenson. And if you don't know Kate, she is the founder of Finding Cooper's Voice, and she has an amazing, amazing gift to write and to be able to connect people. She said that when her son Cooper was diagnosed with autism, she just felt very alone and she didn't have anybody to talk with and to laugh with, to cry with, to have that support. She was living a very different life than a lot of the people who were having babies in her family, in her environment, in her area. And so she created that community, and she has over 1 million followers on Facebook. She's been on the Today Show. She's been on Good Morning America. She is really doing the work of connecting others. And she has such an amazing voice in this space and sharing her journey so that others don't feel alone. She has written 2 books. She wrote Forever Boy, A Mother's Memoir of Autism, and she has also written with other authors, Autism Out Loud, and it's an instant New York Times bestseller. So in this episode of the podcast, we talk about her journey of having a son who's diagnosed with autism. She talks about her journey with writing and that as an outlet. And then she has really just been a catalyst of creating a community so that others don't feel alone. She shares a lot over at Finding Cooper's Voice. I follow her on Instagram. I talk about social media a lot here at ABA Speech, and it has really allowed me to connect with so many amazing people. And so I think you're going to absolutely love this conversation. She talks about Cooper's journey, but she also talks about one really cool leisure activity that they do together as a family. And if you follow my work here at ABA Speech, I talk about leisure activities a lot because I want my students and your students, those of you that are listening or your own children, to feel happiness, to feel joy, to feel connected to their family and to feel connected to their community. So I think you will love learning about what has really worked for Kate's family. I hope that you enjoy this conversation with Kate Swenson. Make sure that you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts so people know that the information that we're sharing here at the ABA Speech podcast is important. Let's get into this episode. I'm Rose Griffin, a speech therapist, board-certified behavior analyst, and founder of ABA Speech. It wasn't all that long ago that I felt overwhelmed by providing therapy for my autistic students and any students who were not yet speaking. Fast forward through many doubts, tears, research, and courses, and you will see the framework that I use today and share with over 60,000 readers weekly. One that will help you support your students and feel more confident in the process. I created the ABA Speech podcast to give you simple, step-by-step strategies to help you reach all of your students wherever they are on their communication journeys. If you're a speech therapist, BCBA, RBT student, or parent who's looking to help all students develop a way to communicate with the world, you are in the right place, friend. Let's get started. We have an amazing guest for you today. I'm so excited, having a fangirl moment. I feel like I know her, and you probably do too. I was actually just on a call and I was saying who my podcast guest was first thing, and the person was like, oh my gosh, of course I know who that is. So welcome to the show, Kate Swenson. Thank you so much, Kate, for taking time to come on.
Thank you for having me.
And for those of my listeners who may not be familiar with your work or may be new to you, can you tell us how you kind of fell into the autism world? That is what my friend Mary Barbera always says on her podcast. So let us know how you're in touch with that.
I feel like it was more of a push and
right.
Hold on.
Yes.
My firstborn son, Cooper, he is 14 years old now. He's a freshman, which you never think is going to happen. He was diagnosed with autism at 3.5. And I actually started writing, and back then it was called blogging. I started blogging about my son having a speech delay. That's what I was hoping it was. The terms, developmental delay, those, I'm trying to think what other ones were thrown around. And I just started writing and sharing, and never thought that I would be where I am now.
Yes. And I just think that you've given such a voice to so many people. I mean, I really kind of grew up, became a speech therapist, started working at the Cleveland Clinic Learner School, which is in essence an ABA program, and worked with so many students who I feel like present a lot like Cooper, where they're not yet speaking, have had some behavioral challenges. And I just feel like a lot of people feel really alone. And you mentioned that. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But the way that you write, I'm just like, this is amazing. I bet so many people just feel like I feel seen, I feel heard. And I feel like as a practitioner, because I don't have an autistic child of my own, my son does have ADHD, but very different. I think that you give people a voice and a way to say like, yes, this is how I feel, and it's okay to feel that way. So thank you for doing that. So you're the best-selling author of Forever Boy and then Autism Out Loud. And I love this book. It's just amazing. So what inspired you to share your family journey with autism?
Well, honestly, I never thought I would write a book. That was not, I've always loved writing, but that was never a possibility, not even on the realm. But I was so alone. We lived in rural Minnesota. And when Cooper was diagnosed, I swear we had the only child diagnosed with autism. I mean, there was not even an autism type clinic. We got speech at the hospital. We were one of the only kids there. It was all, other older folks there. There was nothing focused on what he needed. And I was like, we have the only child. And I think back then it was like 1 in 68 kids. I can't remember the exact number, but it's like, well, where are they? Where are they? Right. So I honestly just started sharing because I needed to find someone else, one other person, one other family, mom, dad, kiddo. And I didn't understand the power of social media necessarily, right. Because I shared, well, actually, I don't think I've ever faltered from this, but I've always been very honest and vulnerable. Mm-hmm. I didn't always realize who was watching. Right. That still sometimes catches me off guard. I did a story this morning about just really vulnerably and honestly. And I sometimes get a little nervous sharing, but it's like, I can't be the only one that feels this way. And I just don't want any mom or dad to ever feel as alone as I have in the past.
Yeah. And I thank you so much for that. I actually had somebody who joined my membership. I have a membership called the ABA Speech Connection, which is for speech therapists, BCBAs, RBTs, some gung-ho parents, as that's another Mary Barbera term, will join. But this person had joined and she wrote back. And I have some, funnels that are like, oh, thanks for joining the membership. And she wrote, it's a parent, and she wrote and said, thank you so much for having these courses about learning about ABA or, whatever it was. And she said, I feel less alone being in this membership. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. I have a little folder called Kind Words, and I put it there because, as you know about social media, not everybody is going to be on your side, and people always have an opinion and want to drop it in the comments. And some days that can feel heavy, right? And just sharing your family story and, hearing all that.
Yeah, I didn't know, truly did not know that saying autism can be hard could be controversial. I just didn't know, and so I just know that there's so many parents in their homes, sad, alone, worried, right. Angry, every feeling. And it's like, I just want to start these conversations so they can have a place to just, even if they're just reading and they're scared to comment, just know that they're not alone.
Yes. And you probably have you have a lot of followers on social, but I know there's so many more people that consume your content that you'll never, ever hear from, but that you have heard, that you have made an impact. So that's really cool. So in Autism Out Loud, you share that isolation is the silent killer of families with special needs, and most of the world has no idea. Kind of like what we were saying. So can you share more about that and what we can do, I guess, as clinicians to really help families feel supported?
Well, I think, the loneliness is so hard. And just for context, Cooper, my first child, my two best friends had kids at the exact same time. So they're all 14 right now. Right. My sister-in-law had a baby at the exact same time. So I had all these, children, and my journey was so different from day one. It was not what I expected, and it was not what anyone else was living. And I remember having nowhere to ask my questions. And nowhere just to share or even laugh or cry or, I remember I tried at work one time in the break room. I have a story in my first book about this, and people just looking at me with, like shocked looks on their faces. And it's like, but this is my normal. It can't be that bizarre because I'm living it. And so, the isolation got me right away because we couldn't leave our house without, extreme crying or meltdown or having to leave early. And then we had another son, and my husband would start taking him, and then I would really be home. And I remember having this moment of like watching my neighbors and my family outside through the window. Like I could like see them, and I could almost touch them, but I couldn't be there. And so, how can people help? That's the question I'm asked all the time. I think just, I have lots of things. I mean, I think, honestly, the most important one, come over. I mean, just sit with us. The one thing that I needed in the beginning, more than anything that I never got, was a friend or family member or someone just to come sit. And it's like, they just never, I don't know if they thought it was too hard or what, but I think just see us, believe us, come visit us.
And I think people just don't understand that how, because when I worked at the Cleveland Clinic, the director at the time did a talk at a conference that I went to, and it was like people's worlds get really small because at the Cleveland Clinic, it was a really long time ago. It was 20 years ago, and ABA wasn't covered by insurance. And, there were a lot of learners that kind of fell through the public school cracks. They didn't have a way to communicate, and then they started to have aggressive behavior, and, it was a pattern, and they couldn't be educated appropriately in public school. And then we would work with them at the Cleveland Clinic because we were equipped for that. And she said, as their kids get older, and if they are not able to be in the community, the whole family worlds get really small, or a member of the family. And it really kind of changes that family dynamic. And that's really hard. And I think sometimes people just feel uncomfortable about how to be supportive. It's kind of like even with like grief or like a death in your family, like people want to be there for you, but they're not sure how to be. And so maybe the easiest thing is to not do anything, So I think you sharing that is like really good information. Like just be there, be supportive. Don't be afraid to ask questions and have this open dialogue. I think you're empowering people to feel that way. So I love that. You also say that, and you talk about your family a lot, like the whole chapter about Sawyer. I think that is maybe your son's name. Yeah, I love that so much. You say autism is a family diagnosis. Yes, it's only Cooper who carries the label, but it's all of us who feel its effect. What has been helpful for your family along this journey? I know that you've done lots of different things, and you share about that, which I think is great. And I think you're always kind of checking in on everybody, as a good mom does. You're checking in on everybody on your family, also yourself, and just saying like, okay, we need to pivot here, or this works now, and maybe that's not going to work a year from now, right? It can change and ebb and flow. But really, what has been helpful for your family as a whole?
Yeah, so I have 3 other children, 12, 6, and 4. My 12-year-old Sawyer is incredibly bonded with Cooper. They've, really never known a life without each other. It wasn't always that way. I will never, sugarcoat it. We had a lot of many, many years where they were like ships in the night. They didn't even acknowledge each other. And as we started doing more things with Sawyer in the community, like t-ball and hockey, it almost became like Cooper stays home with mom, dad goes. It's like it became this like kind of like gut check moment. Like, what am I teaching Sawyer? Mom and Cooper stay home. And so I think the best thing that I've ever done for my family, and the advice that I always give, is to talk about autism. Just talk about it. And I think children will ask the questions. They're not afraid. They will ask. They may not say the right thing, but adults get nervous, right? Like, what if we don't say the right thing? What if we don't have the answer? I remember like my son one time when he was little, he was like, why does that person have black skin? And I'm like, oh my gosh, instead of just like calmly answering it, over, I will not do that with autism. Like, I will talk about differences. I want you to come talk to me about them. And because of that, my kids are the strongest advocates. They are kind. I mean, they're still naughty as heck, but they're so kind. Every conference, I hear that they seek out people who are different. They sit with the kiddo who doesn't have anybody. And I know some families, I don't know, it's different for every family, but I didn't want it to ever be a negative thing. I just wanted to talk about it. And I think because of that, my kids have really just grown into these awesome people.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I know. I had a client once who she had a genetic disability and she couldn't use an AAC device and she used eye gaze and she had two siblings that were younger. And the parents were both these very important doctors of the Cleveland Clinic. And they just said, like, I know my kids are different on the inside from having this, experience of having this diagnosis. And it really is kind of a different family journey. So I think it's so wonderful that you share it and you're kind of checking in on everybody in your family to make sure. And before we press record, I love that, a big part of what I've always talked about, because I did work with older students who just really struggled to engage in, kind of like fun things like leisure skills. So a big part of what I've talked about at ABA Speech is modified leisure skills. And so thinking about like, what can we do peer to peer, or what can we do as a family, or what can the kids learn at school, like a modified version of like Connect Four or Uno, and then do it at home. Because when I was working with older learners, that was one of the big things is, so-and-so has a sister, but they've never done anything together, right? And I remember teaching this student how to play modified Connect Four, and he did it, and it was so cool. And I was talking to his mom, and then she bought that for him for Christmas. And then he played with his sister. And I was like, yay, this is why I do what I do. But you had mentioned that we have a boat. I live in a small area here that has a small lake in Ohio, but you mentioned at one time, I think on an Instagram post, that you discovered boating, and that was something that your family could do together, because I would imagine that would be something that's difficult, right? What is something that you can all do together as a family? And so can you talk a little bit about how you discovered that? Because that's cool for people to know.
Yeah, Cooper has a lot of limitations. That's just the way I'll describe it. So he struggles to wait in line. He struggles to sit quietly. He's never been to a movie that isn't sensory friendly. We've never eaten as a family at a restaurant, even still today.
Yep.
And there were all these things we couldn't do. We can't go to an amusement park. We can't, so I focused so hard on finding one thing, just one thing that our family could do together that was fun, that we didn't have to leave early, that wasn't negatively impacted. And for many years for us, and it took like 12 to find, was boating. And so it had to look a certain way. We, and I know this, again, not possible for everyone, but we don't, just for context, we don't go on vacations. So we bought a boat with a cuddy, which is an underneath kind of like little living area. I mean, small. It's just,
okay.
And so Cooper would swim. So first, go fast in the boat. He would love to swim. When he was done, he's all done. There's no more. So he would go underneath in the air conditioning. He would get in his comfy clothes. He would lay in the bed. He'd have his snacks, and he'd watch his iPad. And the other kids could swim for hours.
Wow.
And so that changed our whole family. That was like one thing that we could do where it wasn't impacted in a negative way by this disability. And that's when I really saw them start to bond, because they would love, the siblings would love to see Cooper have so much fun. And they're like, Cooper's done. You don't have to leave. So I really encourage families to keep pushing, whatever it may be. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's traveling, maybe it's swimming, whatever it is, just keep pushing for that one, to find that one thing.
That's cool that you found that one thing. Yeah. Cause then there's so many nice family memories. And then the kids are pairing with Cooper and they understand like, oh, he's having fun, but now he's done and he gets to do all these. That sounds like a cozy little spot there. Get into your comfy clothes and get on technology. I love it. But everybody is still kind of having their own fun. So, well, that's so nice. I'm so glad that you were able to do that and share about that. That's amazing.
And that's another reason I'll just say quickly too, for families, why we always host. We try to always host everything.
Okay.
Cooper's done, then he goes to his safe space. And so the fun, we don't have to leave. The fun doesn't have to end. But he can go to his safe space. So, I think my message is always like, find the thing that works, modify the things that you need to work. There's usually a way you can make it. Not always, but usually.
Yes. Yeah. And being the detective, like I always say that too, for everything. Like I know when I was working with kids in high school, I would want to give them like these vocational opportunities within the school before they would like have this like, we have a wonderful consortium of vocational school here where some of the kids starting sophomore year, they do like half day at the high school, then half day at vocational, then they go out into the community. It's a really wonderful program called CVEC, I think is what it's called. And I was always like a detective in the building. I was like, okay, where where can I have my students have these like pre-vocational activities? Like, can we be friends with the janitor? Can we be friends with the principal? What do they need done? And I'm sure you've done a lot of that. I know you have, just from reading your work and seeing your social media posts of like just kind of getting to know everybody in the environments and seeing what's going to work, right? For Cooper, for your family. And that takes a lot of energy. So kudos to you, because it's hard to make sure everybody is, on the same page, right?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. In the book, you discuss I loved this chapter, a different kind of success. And you talked about, going to conferences and even autism conferences, I think. And, you still felt like maybe not like kind of like an outsider a little bit when people were sharing about things. And so you talk about this person who had 4 kids and talking about success, and they were talking about their children. I loved how that was such a great part of the book. So can you share what success means for Cooper and kind of your family as a whole, or if you want to share that part of your book? I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think, it's my definition of success has changed constantly for Cooper. And I've had moments of super positivity. I've had moments of just being negative. I'm just scared and I'm sad. I think I want Cooper to be happy. And I know I want him to have a joyful life. I worry that gets missed sometimes, maybe in the world where it's like we have to meet these levels of to be successful, even with a disability. Like he has to be able to do, like a big one is a job. Like I've heard, like I remember like going to this conference, and this woman was like, every person can work a job, and I was like, yeah, I suppose, I guess on some level, but I'm like, I just don't know if my son would want to. Now, would he love to volunteer at this train station that we have over here? That would he love that? Would he love to go to like a nursing home and like dance and sing? And I guess I just really want him to be happy, and I want him to know that he's loved and that he's safe. I think that's really important to me. I also want to prepare him for after I'm gone. I'm just like, if you follow me closely, I'm really just on this like cusp. I'm like right on the top of the mountain of like, I have to leave someday, and I need to prepare this boy. I don't have any answers yet, so don't come to me for answers. I know what it looks like. But I'm starting to think about it, and it's like, what are the skills that I want him to have? And it's like, make a snack, get a drink of water, put his shoes on, buckle his seatbelt. It's different than what it used to be. I used to think, it had to look a certain way. And also I'm glad that you asked about our family too, because our family is really important to us. I really want us to be able to go on vacation. Yeah. We've never been able to do that. And I'm starting to realize maybe it's Cooper goes to grandma's and the rest of us on vacation. I'm just starting to kind of navigate that too. Yep. It's hard. This life it's so different than any of my friends' lives.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you've done such a great job of sharing so other people don't feel alone, but you've also built just such a community around, your writing. I mean, I just feel like I read this book and I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything. Like, it's just like such a great read because you can just like whip through it and you feel like you're there with you. So thank you for that. You just have a gift. I'm actually writing a book this year for speech therapists at like a traditional publisher, and they reached out to me, and it's about working with students who are not yet speaking. And that's really kind of where clinically my heart was, before I started ABA speech. So I'm excited about that, but it's just so hard to write a book.
I'm signing a third book.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And this is so funny. I was talking to my friend Adrian, who I co-wrote the book with.
Yes.
This morning. And I just said, I haven't put ink to paper yet. I don't think I'm going to do it. Yeah. I just don't think that I have the capacity to write another book. And I have it in my head. It's the book I've wanted to write since Cooper was diagnosed. Oh, essentially like how to care for the caregiver. And like, here's your child's diagnosed with autism. Here's everything you need to know. Right. But it's writing a book is the hardest thing you'll ever do. And no one has any idea. It's like this secret world. Can you really, I don't know what it's like for you, but like, it's not like penning your memoir at Starbucks. Right. On fire. It's like, no. Really hard.
It is really hard. So I'm excited. They just sent the book covers last week, options. And I was like, oh, this is good because this will help me finish this chapter that I'm supposed to finish on my own timeline. So the whole manuscript is due Halloween Day. And then I know it won't come out till July. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. But I hope that it's helpful. And I know that, with a traditional publisher, they'll just make it look amazing. And I'll be so proud of it. But yeah, it's draining. Yeah. So, but it's great. Like what a cool product, and then to be able to share it. So you wrote the first book, and then I know you do speaking. Can you just talk about like your business a little bit and kind of how you're helping like beyond the books? You have an amazing social media following. Is Instagram your biggest platform or?
No, Facebook. I'm at, I think 1.2 million on Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
That's where I really
wow.
Okay. my viral success over there.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Yay.
Yeah. After my first big book came out, I started speaking, which I love. I could speak every day. I would.
Yeah.
I'm going to a school district tomorrow. My favorite keynote to give is to educators, and not just SPED educators. I like the whole school. You give me bus drivers, general educators, admin, because that's who everyone interacts with our kids.
Yes.
Travel's really hard on my family.
Yes.
So that's been, it's a balance. So I try to do 1 to 2 speaking things a month, but that's a balance. I also, have a nonprofit that I co-founded with my friend Amanda. We did that during COVID. It's called the More Than Project, and we do 2 retreats a year. So one in the spring that moves around. One is Owensboro, Kentucky. And then one in the fall that's every year at this camp called Moon Beach. And that my heart lies there too. I just love bringing. It's traditionally we reach female caregivers right now because there's just 2 of us and 2 moms. We'd love to expand, but again, it takes time. We just love getting them in a room and like hearing that like hum of like laughter and nodding, and they just get it. There's nothing better. What else? I do videos online. I have a supporter group. I think a membership group, much like yours.
Okay. Great.
I had that on Facebook, and I launched that because my page got so big that I couldn't speak honestly anymore.
Oh, sure.
It got just too big.
Yes.
And I need a place to, just say like, this is really hard. Cooper had a pretty big meltdown on Saturday over an iPad that I got for his sister. And it's like, I just need a place that I can just talk about this without judgment. That's what we all need.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is my life. Finding Cooper's voice is my life.
Yeah.
And, I keep saying this sentence. I don't want anyone to ever feel as alone as I did and do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for starting that. So your membership, where do you house your membership? Like, can people join? Is it mostly for parents or what? I don't know much about it.
I have one on Facebook and one on YouTube, just because I was afraid for 5 seconds that Facebook was going to go away.
You never know.
So I do videos. Typically I do a video every day just for my little subscriber group.
Nice.
Yeah, anyone can join, but we do have a lot of it's not that big, but we do have teachers and therapists.
Okay.
Also a lot of teachers and therapists who have kids with disabilities.
Yes. Right. Yes.
And then a lot of grandparents. I think grandparents are just forgotten about. And I think they feel as much as, and a lot of grandparents are raising kids too.
Right.
So a lot of grandparents, and it's a place where you can just ask questions, and just much like yours, just ask questions and cause like, I think our topics are so polarizing too, like medication or aggression or self-injuring. Like we just want to talk about those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great to create that safe space because as you said, social media, sometimes when you're sharing, it's not everybody is kind and they have all kinds of, especially, oh my gosh, over 1 million followers. Kate, that's amazing. Well, you are reaching so many lives and transforming them and just making people feel comfortable in their own skin. So you're doing great work. What is your main website so that people can visit it? And we'll put all your links in the show notes.
Yeah, it's findingcoopersvoice.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for coming on to the show. It was amazing to connect.
Thank you for having me.